Hey there, how's it going? My name is David and you're watching Kyosho DRC. Welcome back to the channel and welcome to what is not a buggy. Yes, a little bit of a departure from what's usually on this channel. Today we have a rally car. Although, truth to be told, if you've been following the channel for a while, you know I do have a XV01. It's featured on several running videos. If you're interested, links below in the description. Okay, before we go any further, just a bit of an announcement. Kyosho DRC does now have a Facebook page. I'll be using that for more kind of snapshot behind the scenes, that kind of thing. So if that interests you, again, link in the description below. So yeah, this is the newly released Fazer Mk2 rally chassis. Why did I pick this up? Well, I first saw this back in the hobby show back in May down at Shizuoka, and I wanted to pick one of the Fazer Mk2 chassis up for the longest time because the bodies are, especially when you see them in person, they are just so well done. Very nice detail. I mean, they are almost like pieces of art. I wanted to pick one up for the longest time, but at the same time, I knew I wouldn't really use it. The body being so nice, it would have got driven very lightly in the car park a few times and spend most of its time on a shelf. Unfortunately, I just don't have the shelf space, and so realistically it would spend most of its time in a box in a closet, and that would be a waste. But with a rally car, it's designed to get beat up and driven. So yeah, when I saw this, I was like, definitely I want to pick one up at some point. And I got to see it again at the Kyosho vintage meet in October. Links to both events in the description below. So I was like, yeah, definitely I want to pick one up. Now, full disclosure and a bit of a kind of disclaimer going forward. This is my first Fazer chassis, so I don't really know a lot about them, and I am by no means an expert. So if I make any errors, please let me know in the comments below. So this is a rally chassis, the Fazer FZ02-R. Now I do believe that Kyosho offered and still do a rally conversion kit for the standard Mark II Fazer chassis, and what that does is it gives you revised suspension geometry to make it more like suitable for off-road running. So revised front and rear shock towers, I believe, is included in the kit, along with longer dampers for longer stroke and a few other bits and pieces. And what that does is it converts the standard Mark II basically on-road touring car chassis into a rally chassis. But as I understand it, there are a few drawbacks to that conversion. Chiefly the shocks being used, if I remember correctly, and again please correct me if I'm wrong, they're from the Mad Van, and one of the downsides to doing that conversion is you're kind of limited to what bodies you can fit onto the chassis once the conversion is done. This, however, I believe was basically a rethink of the chassis in order to, right from the get-go, make it suitable for rallying. So over the standard Mark II chassis, there were numerous small differences to make it more suitable for off-road driving. Anyway, in the interest of brevity, I'm going to speed through this because otherwise it'll end up being a 17-minute video. Don't ask me how I know. This is like the third time recording this. Trying to shorten it down. So it's an RTR kit. It's a shaft-driven four-wheel drive. All you got to do is throw batteries in it and you're good to go. There's probably a million and one unboxing and reviews of the Fazer Mk2 chassis on YouTube by now, so I'll just speed through it. You get Kyosho's can't think of the word there, pistol grip controller. It's very good. Certainly it's a lot better than the ones you get for the Mini Z series, the Minute series. You've got all the adjustments you'd ever really need, to be honest. It's very nice. In fact, the only criticism I could level at it is I plan to drive and shoot a video this weekend, so it's drive with the left hand, shoot with the right, and it's also included in the box are a few bits and pieces. They give you these wheel hubs. What these allow you to do are change the tread on the car. So if you've got a 190mm body or a 200mm body, you can use these to adjust the tread and match the offsets. So it's nice that Kyosho include that. Also, you get a bag with a few bits and pieces in here. Most notably, they include a body mount, and according to the instructions, this is to allow you to fit bodies from other manufacturers onto the chassis. So it's great. It's a huge thumbs up for me that Kyosho you know, supplying parts to allow you to fit bodies from other manufacturers, so that's a huge bonus. Also, you get some shock preload clips to adjust the preload, some different damper pistons. Now, I've read somewhere that they did a lot of tuning for the dampers on this rally chassis, and if memory serves, it's using really thin oil, something like 100 weight oil, but they're also using shock pistons that've got a lot more holes than you would normally expect. I mean, I'm looking here and this has probably got like 6-7 holes, and the reason with being was they were trying to balance compliance and really make it look realistic when it's running, but also, you know, have it not bottom out on any larger jumps. It's all about, you know, balancing the suspension tuning. But anyway, yeah, you've got spare or different shock pistons, and then what else we got in here? Looks like a couple of different servo saver arms, so if you wanted to swap out the stock servo for something else, you've got those in the bag. And then you get a few Allen keys, wrenches, and a receiver binding pin. The manual is typical Kyosho in that it's very well laid out, it's concise. You can tell as soon as you start flipping through it that this is really, being an RTR, it's really aimed at people new to the hobby. So a large portion of the manual is devoted to setup, driving techniques, basic stuff. You know, if you've been in the hobby for a while, it's all pretty basic stuff. But if this is your first RC car, then yeah, it's very helpful. Driving techniques, etc. They also include a optional parts catalog. I've already, me being me, I've already ordered a load of, well, most of them have already arrived, option parts. My plan for this is to run it in stock form first, get a feel for how it runs, and then later start swapping in some option parts, because I do plan to run this head to head against my XV01, which has a lot of option parts thrown at it. It's nowhere near stock, and so to kind of level the playing field, I'm going to modify this at some point. So anyway, on to the main event, as it were, the actual car. If you've never seen Kyosho's Fazer Mk2 chassis bodies in person, you are missing something. The photos don't do them justice. They're just so nice. The attention to detail, the realism, the scale look of them, almost like miniature pieces of artwork that you can drive, and this is no exception. But being a rally car, it's supposed to be driven and get beaten up, and so I feel more at ease, you know, scratching and rolling this than I would, for example, the Nissan Skyline or something else like that. But yeah, the body is really well done. If you pop the body off, the quality is really high. It does have fitments for LEDs, and I do have the option of LEDs to go in at some point, so I will be doing that. The actual windows have got a slight tint into them, but it's not too dark, so I may at some point paint up a Tamiya rally cockpit and put that in there. My XV01 has the rally cockpit, and it just really adds to the realism of the kit. Okay, so onto the chassis. It's a four-wheel drive shaft-driven chassis, very similar in overall design and layout to Tamiya's TT02, and that's in no way a bad thing. Being an RTR, there isn't much scope for adjustment right out of the box. You can't, at least I don't see any way of adjusting the camber, the toe. Yeah, pretty much everything's set. All you can do is add and remove preload spaces on the dampers to adjust ride height. Being all plastic, you might think it would feel cheap, but nothing could be further from the truth. This feels solid. The TT02 also has a similar feeling, but this is probably one step up. It has a very robust, sturdy feel to it. There's very little play in any of the suspension arms or anything like that. It really does feel like it's built like a tank, even though it is all plastic. Straight away you'll notice the suspension for an RTR is very, very nice. I know they've spent a lot of time. I believe Kogawa-san is responsible for the rally chassis, or perhaps even all of the Fazer Mk2 chassis, and yeah, he's worked his magic on it. It feels really good. It's hard to, I hope this comes across on camera, but yeah, I can tell straight away that this is going to handle really well, even, you know, moderate jumping as well. Okay, so how does this differ to the standard Mark II Fazer chassis? And again, I am no expert. This is my first Fazer Mark II, so I can't comment on all the little differences. But as far as I know, obviously the chief differences are suspension geometry. I believe they beefed up the lower suspension arms to make them more suitable for off-road driving, and they've also done a lot of work on the front steering to eliminate bump steer, which seems to have worked really good. There's hardly any. Obviously the front and rear shock towers are different from the standard Mark II. You've got long stroke dampers front and rear, and they look almost big bore. Plastic bodies with aluminium caps. What else can I tell you? We've also modified the front skid to make it more suitable for off-road driving, less likely to get hung up. But yeah, overall very impressed. But you know, being an RTR, there is a lot of room for improvement. Certainly I would like to do something with the stock steering setup to give me a bit more adjustability, and although I suspect it's going to handle really well out of the box, it would be nice to be able to play around with camber settings and a few other bits and pieces as well. Being the rally car, it's got a plastic polycarbonate chassis cover to keep dust and dirt out of the chassis, held in place by annoying body clips. So I may actually do away with them and put some Velcro down the side. It just makes it a lot easier, and it also helps to seal the chassis. Inside you've got a 15-turn 550 motor brushed, along with Kyosho's rebranded Hobbywing 1060. Looks like a 3, possibly even 4-channel receiver, and then a Kyosho branded servo. I did power this on and just checked everything worked, and the servo did seem quite slow, even with the steering dual rate cranked all the way up. So I believe it's probably intentional, being that this is RTR. You don't really want a really fast servo for a beginner, because it's just going to make it really hard to control, especially on, you know, on slippery conditions. But I may swap the servo out at some point. But yeah, the electronics are perfectly fine, and for, you know, this kind of car, you know, that's going to be picked up by people new to the hobby, this is plenty enough power, I think. Power source is standard stick packs, although you could probably get LiPo in there, and it's secured by a Velcro strap. Well, there we go. That is Kyosho's Fazer Mk2 FZ02-R rally chassis on the Subaru Impreza. This weekend, weather permitting, I will get out and do some test running, shoot running videos, so stay tuned for that. My name is David, you've been watching Kyosho RC, and hopefully I haven't bored everyone to death. I'll catch you in the next one.